Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's tourism lesson. My name is Evans Maponya. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. If it happens that during the lesson you don't understand some of the concepts, you can ask questions on WhatsApp on the number that is to follow. The number is 079 578 2908. Our WhatsApp number is 079 578 2908. That's in case you have missed some of the concepts and you want clarity on, use the WhatsApp number that I have just provided. Grade 12 learners, today's topic is derived from communication and customer care. The subtopic under discussion will be methods to obtain customer feedback and measure customer satisfaction. Where will this lesson be assessed? It will be assessed in section E of your question paper, that is the final examination paper, and it will be assessed in question 10 and in question 1, that is your section A short questions. It will further be assessed during controlled tests. Only the data handling remains for you at this stage. It was also assessed in the skills assessment task that you completed during the year. It will be asked also in the PET that is due for administration on the 5th and 6th of August, that is next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. It will further be assessed during the preliminary examination as well as in the final examination. Here are your lesson objectives. At the end of this lesson, you as grade 12 learners must be able to do the following. Firstly, you need to be in a position to explain the concept customer feedback. You also need to be in a position to explain the purpose of obtaining customer feedback, that is the reason why it's necessary for businesses to get feedback from its customer. Feedback simply suggests the responses that customers give after a service has been delivered, after they have purchased a product or they have received a service from the business. And such responses, they are happiness or unhappiness about the product. As they relate those experiences, we refer to that as feedback. You should be able to list and name the different ways in which customer feedback can be collected or can be obtained, and also be in a position to explain how each can be analyzed. As we move further with the lesson objectives, you as grade 12 learners must be able to understand the advantages as well as the disadvantages of every feedback method. You need to also understand and explain the step-by-step process or processes of how customer feedback can be analyzed. You need to also understand and explain as to what the impact of poor or excellent service delivery is and has on the profitability of a tourism business. So we need to understand clearly the impact or the effects of poor service or good service delivery as opposed to the profit that the business makes. So for business to make good profit, it relies on the services of its staff members. Let's look at the concept of customer care. The customer care, we can say, refers to information provided by customers about their experience with a product or service. We are referring to this information or data that customers give to explain or to relate their experience of the product or service. And that explains what customer care is. As we further explain the concept of customer care, it also refers to the information provided by clients about whether they are satisfied, that is happy, or dissatisfied, unhappy with a product or a service, about the general experience they had with a particular company or a business. Customer care can also be explained as a set of opinions or customer's opinion of a resource for improving customer experience and adjusting the staff company's action to their need. The opinion of the customers or of the client is valued as a useful resource, as a useful tool that businesses use to improve customer experience and adjust their staff to the company's actions and their needs. All these three bullets explain the concept of customer care. Now let's pay particular attention to the purpose of customer feedback, which is embedded in the following bullet that I'm going to try and elaborate on. The first purpose is to reveal the customer's level of satisfaction with a product or service and helps tourism businesses to understand where there is a need for improvement. Right, let's try and explain in detail what the first bullet suggests. So, customer feedback is seen as a tool that reveals, that exposes the customer's level of satisfaction with a product or service. It is a tool that tells the businesses whether the customers are happy about the product or service. And with this information, businesses will have to understand the need for improvement of their service and products that they provide. Secondly, the purpose of customer feedback is to know where and how to improve on customer service delivery. So the information provided by the companies, by the customers, help to businesses to establish where and how to improve service delivery. As we move further to explain the purpose of customer feedback, businesses will use complaints as a basis or an opportunity for improvement. So they will assess different complaints raised by customers and use that as a foundation to resolve those issues and improve the business for the better. Also, one of the purposes of customer feedback is to get negative feedback and complaints. So, customer feedback helps businesses to know what they are doing wrong, and from that, they try to improve their services. The business will know what they are doing right, that is the positive feedback, and finally, find your business niche market. A niche market is a particular market where the business draw its customers. It's a small category of customers where business or establishment knows that here it's where we get our customers from. And such areas where businesses get their customers from is referred to as a niche market. So it's just a small market where the business rely or draw its customers from. As we further move with the purpose of customer feedback, it helps businesses to keep a competitive advantage. It helps business to stand out when compared to other businesses. It gives the business an edge over other businesses. That is the competitive advantage. By adapting its product and services to suit the changing customers' needs, that is one purpose of customer feedback, for businesses to re-establish themselves and adapt or specialize in products and services that suits the needs of the customers. This will help business to retain their existing customers. So if you have loyal customers, you do not want to lose them. So one of the strategies to retain or to keep on hold those existing customers is you must often ask them if they are satisfied or dissatisfied about the services so that you meet their expectations. To know how to attract new and more customers. So customer feedback provide a platform for suggestion to businesses which help them in turn to attract new as well as more clients or customers. Here are the methods that businesses use to obtain customer feedback. The first method is the method of survey. Another method that can be used is that of questionnaire, followed by feedback cards, also follow-up calls, SMS messages, as well as web-based responses. These are some of the well-known methods that are used to obtain customer feedback. Let's analyze all the methods that we have alluded to in the previous slide, one by one. We will be looking into defining it, as well as knowing about the advantages and disadvantages of using a particular method of obtaining customer feedback. The first one is a survey. Now, if one could be asked what a survey is, it can be explained as the measurement procedures that involve asking questions from respondents. Respondents are people who answer the questions. So it is a measurement procedure that involves mainly asking questions from the respondent. Now, let us look into surveys into more details. So it is explained from this slide that companies use survey to get feedback from customers. So examples of such companies or businesses alluded to the slide here are hotels and restaurants. So they use, by and large, surveys to get those complaints, those levels of satisfaction from their customers. And examples of such businesses are hotels and restaurants. As we further explain surveys, the customer can comment on the quality of service and standards of the facility. They are not only looking at the product or the service they get, but also the kind of facility where the service is rendered. The facility, we are referring to the building structure. Is it attractive? Is it clean? Is it well kept? So such factors come in during surveys, and that helps businesses to improve their services. As we further explore on surveys, the surveys will ask customers to rate their service on a scale, word, or symbol. So they will ask you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being poor, the poorest of the poor quality that was provided, and around 5 will be moderate, and 6 up to 10 would suggest good and excellent service has been provided. So they use those scales, or they may use words such as good, fair, excellent. So that's how they use it, and they can use nowadays the emojis. I'm sure you are well familiar with them. There is an emoji for showing sadness that the service was pathetic, an emoji with a smile indicating customer satisfaction. So those are some of the ways in which surveys are presented to customers. So those are, for example, the 3 ways that can be applied. Many customers do not like to complete them, even if it is quick. So most of the customers fear to give their opinions about level of satisfaction, that they are not happy about the service. And in some of the businesses operating in tourism, they fear victimization. I'm going to give an example here of a taxi with the kind of behavior that the taxi drivers expose. We are afraid to also lay out our dissatisfaction and complain. Some of the service providers are very rude, such that we don't want to find ourselves messing up with them. So the best thing is to walk away. So many customers hate the idea of survey, which is one disadvantage because of the fear to be victimized. In some instances, surveys get or sometimes customers get an incentive to fill in this form. So they will give you a prize that if you complete this form, you'll be entered into the draw, and you can win the prizes mentioned in that particular instance. This is just but to motivate the customers to complete the survey, and it runs at an expense, or it puts a business into a loss, trying to motivate these people or the customers complete the survey. It is at some point can be personal and detailed, and you may get a high response rate. And lastly, it is an expensive means to get feedback from your customers, because it involves a lot of things to it. You have to put in quality paper. You need to, businesses spend on expensive printing processes that are involved with surveys. So it does not come cheap to businesses. And all these are some of the disadvantages that you can get from the surveys. So the advantage being you can get a detailed information which will help businesses to improve on their service levels. The second one we said is questionnaire. A questionnaire is a type of a series of questions and other prompts for the purpose of gathering information from the respondent. Questionnaire ask individual customers a series of questions, and with their to gather data about service levels, if customers are satisfied or dissatisfied about the product or the service that was rendered. This is an example of a questionnaire. You can see how it looks like. Some of them are as detailed as this one, and customers may not be interested in giving information or reading through long information, and that being one of the disadvantages of using a questionnaire to obtain feedback. But if completed, it gives the necessary information that businesses want to improve on their service levels. The questionnaire, as we have explained, it is a set of printed questions worked out for a survey or statistical study. It can be posted or sent via an email. So a survey can be posted in two ways, via email or the normal physical postal mail. Questionnaires are longer than surveys. This is one of the disadvantages because many people do not want to give a long story or to write or to read long stories, asking them about things that are not of benefit to them as opposed to the business. Question can be open, write your own response. So question can be open-ended, so where the respondents or the customer is given the latitude to expand on their satisfaction or dissatisfaction about the product or a service, or closed by a yes or no. So here with a closed one, unlike the open-ended, you just respond by yes or no. You don't have to write other stories. You don't have to elaborate. You don't have to give reason why you think it's a yes or a no. The questionnaires should be well organized and professional. So you must use good language that is not offensive to customers, language that will discourage customers from even visiting your business or from completing the questionnaire. Personal, it is very personal because it asks to know about personal experience. That is a disadvantage, and it is not face-to-face, thus people will not respond. So it is up to you whether to respond or not, and the fact that it's not face-to-face then does not encourage customers or clients to respond to it. It can be hurried answers, and people do not always tell the truth. This is one other advantage. So you complete a questionnaire for the sake of compliance, that it has been completed, but you are not speaking the whole truth about your experience. The next method to obtain feedback is through feedback cards. They are also known as comment cards. They are used to collect information from customers as well, and they are at most completed on site. You don't take it and complete it home and bring it the following day or after some few moments. You, after receiving a service or a product, you complete it there on the spot to express your dissatisfaction or your satisfaction about the service and the product that was ushered to you. This is an example of a feedback card or a comment card. As you can see, it needs or it requires information of the business, or the service provider, as well as the service performed, So it asks questions that are rated based on professionalism. So it is ranged between excellent, good, average, poor, and not applicable, meaning that the customers is in between and cannot know how to rate him or herself. It also look at the criteria, the attitude of the staff, the attentiveness, as well as the efficiency, the environment, as well as the overall experience. And it gives you an opportunity to also give any further details in writing, and it allows you to recommend the steps that the business must apply to correct the wrongs or to improve on the right. So those are the action steps. So this can be a valuable tool that businesses can use to improve by taking into consideration the actions they might take, they must take to rescue the ailing situation or to better improve their businesses. The feedback cards, as we assess the advantages and disadvantages. Customer satisfaction cards, it is a survey with some questions about customers to establish profile for them. Most commonly used, it is comment cards that obtain feedback but do not contain many questions. The customers can complete at the companies and express their opinion that is on site. You can complete it at the company or in the vicinity of the business, and you can express your complaints or your opinions and suggestions there and then. Usually, to discover complaints, for example, hotels, airlines, car rental companies use this method of obtaining feedback. One of the advantages of using the feedback card or the comment card, it is good for customer service feedback. It is rated one of the best method to obtain feedback. And the disadvantage is that it has a low response rate. People are always in a hurry, and time is regarded as of essence by many people as they buy or procure these goods and services. The next method of obtaining feedback is follow-up calls. Follow-up calls suggest you use it to get the level of customer satisfaction, used to get feedback from customers, and also used to get suggestions for improvement from customers, and it is usually recorded. Recorded suggests that it is verbal, and in order to track those responses, you need to replay the recorded version so that you implement whatever suggestions, whatever inputs that the customers would give. Follow-up calls. Companies use follow-up calls to contact their customers and ask for their opinion of the service they have received. So some of the companies especially in the mobile industry, when you have made a query, say to Vodacom or MTN or any of the service provider, they ask you to wait to rate their services after the call. This is done by many businesses and even outside the mobile industry, where they ask you to wait and rate the person who was servicing you on call. Also, the follow-up calls, staff must be polite, explain their purpose of the call, and ask clear questions and wait for the customers to explain. So when you do this kind of feedback, if you want to obtain this feedback through a telephone call, you need to be polite, introduce yourself in a manner that the client would feel safe and not fall into scam activities. So you need to explain yourself in a manner that is clear, ask clear questions, and wait for customers to explain. This is just but advice when you deal with follow-up calls. Follow-up calls are usually recorded so that the owner of the company can listen to customers' suggestion. As I've indicated, that it is recorded and replayed at a later stage so that the business managers and owners can analyze the responses and prioritize their action plan to the improvement of the business. One of the advantages of follow-up calls is that it is fast or quick, it is immediate, it is cheaper than other methods. All these are advantages. All these are advantages. People don't want to talk on the phone for a long time. So it's best that you keep follow-up calls short and to the point, because many people do not have the luxury of answering very long calls. The next method that is used to obtain feedback from customer is SMS messages or WhatsApp messages. Yeah, those SMSs are channeled through a cell phone, and whereby customers are asked to rate the level of the product or service delivered by texting their feedback to the tourism company or to the tourism business. So tourism businesses will send you an SMS message with some few questions that you need to answer and reply the message that was sent. SMS messages. Companies can use SMS messages to ask their customers to rate their services. That is one of the methods that can be used. SMS messaging is very effective way of feedback. So it is the most effective way because it is assumed that every single person has a cell phone and you can receive messages without the use of data. It is a very effective way of obtaining feedback because it doesn't involve your own data. You don't have to use your own data to download the messages. More customers are using SMS messages to reply or complain. That is an advantage. It is fast as well as immediate. So it is quick as well and immediate. This is one of the advantage. It has a low response rate. People will just peruse through, read through the message and not respond to what they've been asked. So it has a very low response rate, and that is one of the few advantages of using SMS messages. Web-based responses, where customers complain, makes a suggestion about the product and services done by visiting the company's website. There are a few steps that, of course, a customer needs to follow to log onto the business website. So if the customer is aggrieved or is dissatisfied about certain services, especially on the chain businesses, you can go to the company's website and lodge your particular complaint on the website. This is an email sent to customers and websites that invite feedback about the company's product and service. They can email their customers to comment on their experiences at the company, or can also encourage the customers to complete online surveys on the website. So it's not only about the email that is sent to you, but also surveys through Google can be done on the company's website as well. The web-based response also involves social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all those data related social medias. TripAdvisor.com as one of the online tool or web-based response. It is a world's largest travel advice website. Other customers can read the comment. So this web-based does not only give access to the business only, but to other potential customers, which makes it a disadvantage. So it can either attract customers to the business upon reading, or discourage some potential buyers to your business. Most of this electronic communication allow customers to remain anonymous. You are not compelled to put in your personal particulars when answering these online or web-based responses. It can be anonymous, convenient, and it has a high response rate, and this makes it one of the best feedback method that can be used, because it is convenience and it has high response rate. You can get responses from different parts of the world in just a few seconds. It is expensive to have internet connection. This implies that data is expensive. It's an expensive commodity to acquire. So if everyone has data, this is one of the most convenient. But now that data is expensive, this becomes a disadvantage to using a web-based or an online-based response. Grade 12 learners, I want us to pause for 5 minutes, and when we get back, we'll continue with our topic. Let's take a 5 minutes break and we'll continue when we come back. Grade 12 learners, welcome back. Remember to WhatsApp any of your questions to 079 578 2908. Now let's move further with our discussion. Just bear in mind that we were on methods that are used to attain customer feedback, and we have alluded to methods such as a survey, methods like a questionnaire, a response card, methods such as SMSs, and web-based responses. Those are some of the method to attain the feedback, and not forgetting to mention the follow-up call as a means to get feedback from the customers. So we've ended our discussion on web-based response, which we said it's online. It uses methods or platforms such as Facebook, such as Twitter, such as blog, and all social medias that you can think of where customer feedback can be attained. So that's the point where we ended before the break. So moving forward, grade 12 learners, I want us to look into ways that are used to analyze customer feedback. Right. There are different ways and suggestions that are used to analyze customer feedback. At first, the businesses or business owners must study the feedback, capture the feedback to determine the extent of customer satisfaction. So the first thing that they need to do is to capture, study the information, and determine the level of customer satisfaction. From the feedback, businesses must identify the most common complaints, the complaints that are featured the most in the feedback are the ones that need to be identified. After identifying those common complaints, they need to decide on an action plan, what steps they need to take after receiving complaints. It's quite crucial as well. They then have to start the intervention process or program. Intervention, they need to know which steps or which appropriate steps they need to take in addressing the problem. So they capture and study, they identify most common, decide on an action plan, and start the intervention process. The grade 12 learners look at the sequence on how this analysis is structured. So you cannot start with the intervention before you study. You cannot decide on an action plan before studying, capturing, and the extent of the customer satisfaction. So it is lined up like this. It takes certain steps or sequence. It is arranged in a way that one process will precede the other. You cannot start with the final process as you and when you are asked to answer question based on that. When they ask you what steps can you take, please be mindful of the sequence. Here are the steps further indicated. Study and capture the customer feedback. Identify the most common customer complaint. Decide on an action plan and start the intervention process. Like I've said, number 4 cannot be number 1. And so is number 2 cannot be number 3. So you cannot swap around the sequence in which they appear, unless if asked in a question, the question simply just say, mention them. But I know from the past experience, they would want you to allocate them according to the step which they follow one another. Please, as you study, please be mindful of the sequence in which they follow each other. Now, after the steps that are involved in processing information collected from customers through various methods, we now look at the impact of service delivery on business profitability. How does service delivery affect profit making in a business? Now, let's start with excellent service delivery leads to satisfied customers. If the service or the product rendered is good, then the customers will be satisfied. They will get value for their money. And what do? When they are satisfied with the product, they will provide a space for positive word of mouth. They will speak good about your products or your services as a business. So when they speak good or positive things about your business, it will further attract many customers. So if the product is rated the best and is provided by your tourism company, then people will talk good about it and further spread the word to other customers who were not aware about such a product or a service. Satisfied customers leads to customer loyalty. Customer loyalty. So there are some loyal customers to KFC because nothing compares to the dishes that they buy at KFC. So that is your customer loyalty. You are glued to a certain product or business. You are loyal. There are loyal customers to Pick and Pay. There are loyal customers to Spar, depending on the level of satisfaction with the product. And all this will lead to repeat business. If I have received a good product or a service from a particular business, then when I need such stuff again in the future or in the near future, I will get back to that particular business, and that is repeat business. So they will visit the business again and again and again. And this makes customers to spend more and more on the products because they are satisfied, and this earns a business a lot of profit. That is profitability. That is the impact of service delivery on business profitability. So now, let's think of a situation where service delivery is not good. Here we have been speaking about excellent service delivery. So if the service was not excellent, if service was bad, it will lead to dissatisfied customers. Customers will not be satisfied about the level, the service levels, and instead of having a positive word of mouth, we'll have a negative word of mouth, and customers may not be loyal to such a business that is offering bad services and products. It will not lead to repeat business, so customers will shy away from such businesses, and customers may not spend. This will result in loss of profit. So we must view this slide or this concept indicated here not only from the positive perspective, but we should also assess the negative. What if the service was bad? What would happen? So it is all the negative of good things that are mentioned when there is excellent service. So this is a further explanation of excellent service delivery, which lead to satisfied customers, positive word of mouth. New customers are attracted to the business because of excellent services. Satisfied new customers spend, new customers, positive word of mouth, and this increase profitability. And with profitability, the cycle repeats continuously because this business is established, or it's well known for rendering good services and providing good products to its customers. Grade 12 learners, I want us to now assess instances where you'd get questions. As you can see here, I've alluded in the beginning that this is your section E, question 10, and as per the structure of the question paper, you can see the first question derived from the past paper. It says 10.1. Now let's hear what it asks. It says, study the infographic below and answer the questions that follow. I'm going to quickly read through the what is indicated on the infographic. It says tourism businesses, take note, numbers do not lie. That is the headline. Tourism businesses, take note, numbers do not lie. An analysis of customer service and experience reflected the findings below. To win a new customer is 6 to 7 times more expensive than to keep the current one. The first block on the infographic states that to win a new customer is 6 to 7 more expensive than to keep the current one. So businesses always strive to keep the existing customers instead of looking for new customers because the cost is too high. The second one on the infographic says, loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. So if you have built that loyal relationship with your customers, it gives you, or it is worth 10 times more than their initial when they first visited the business. As we move to the next one, it says 78%, this one, of customers will not purchase again after experiencing poor services. So if you keep on providing people with poor services, you can imagine the high percentage of loss that you can experience. It takes 12 positive experiences to make up to one negative one. So one rotten potato spoils the whole thing. So 12 positive experiences can be erased by one silly mistake or one negative report. And here it indicates people just watching on a screen. It is without information. And the last one, it says, bad service reaches more than twice as many ears as the praises to good or for good service. So what it suggests is that negative word of mouth, negative thoughts about the business runs twice as much as the correct or the positive information that can be provided. Let's look into the questions after the infographic where we were expected to study it. It says, explain 2 reasons why the findings above are important to tourism businesses for 4 marks. Question 10.1.2 says, explain the meaning of the finding. It takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one negative one. That it gives you 2 marks. And let's look at how the memo or the solutions are phrased. Now, quickly, let's go back to question 10.1.1 and alongside, read it alongside with the answers. It says, explain 2 reasons why the findings above are important to tourism business. Which finding? The finding that 6 new customers, to win new customers is 6 to 7 times expensive. Poor or negative word of mouth makes you to lose, or poor service delivery make you to lose 78% of their client base. And it says it takes 12 positive experiences. So it says explain 2 ways why the findings above are important to tourism business. Let's look at the answers. The findings are valuable to all tourism businesses to retain its customer base. That is 2 marks. The findings will show the company's weakness and serve as a guide for the business to develop its plan of action. Another 2 marks and gives you a maximum of 4. But we can also include bullet number 1 and bullet number 2 that reads, the findings will show the company where it can improve its level of service. And the second bullet, the finding will result in increased profitability. That answers question 10.1.1 about the finding, what the findings reveal. 10.1.2, let's get back to the question again. The question says, explain the meaning of the finding. It takes 12 positive experiences to make up to one negative one. So what it means, it says, all the positive experiences as compared to one negative, so one negative will erase 12 positive experiences at a go, at a time. Now, so one negative experience can erase 12 positive experiences. It means that it is much harder to win back a customer as it will take many attempts to do so. That gives you 2 marks. And as we move to the next bullet, it says, these attempts will place extra strain on the company's financial resources. So to bring back the lost customers, the business will have to pour a lot of money for advertising, for marketing, for re-establishing themselves in business. The second bullet, bad service can lead to a loss of customers, and it will take time and effort to win back such customers. So if the companies, if the customers have left or have vowed not to come back to the business, it will take you effort and time to convince them to come back. And the last bullet says, a negative experience may result in the spreading of negative word of mouth, which can cost the company its reputation. So this answers the 2 questions from the first practice of a set of questions. Here is another practice coming from a different paper. So it is extracted from 10.2. Let's see how it goes. It says, study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. I'm going to read the content on the cartoon, which says, oh, the disappointment. The customer, I'm disappointed with your poor service, and I will not return unless you fix the problem. And his last statement is, I am tired of your poor excuses. So this customer is very disappointed at the service levels that he has received. Let's look at 10.2.1 in the questions. It says, state one way in which the management could respond appropriately to the customer. And 10.2.2, it says, recommend one strategy a company can use to win back the customer's loyalty. And let's look at the answers. 10.2.1, from this question, it says, state one way in which management could respond appropriately. So it needs the response. So one way to respond is to apologize to the customer for the poor service and excuses. That gives you 2 marks. And the first and the third bullet expresses how the question can further be answered to say, reassure the customers of his or her value to the business. Just give him assurance, that things we are working hard to address the problem or the issues that the customer is complaining about. Assure the customers that it will not happen again. So you reassure and assure the customer that it's not something that will be repeated. So solution for 10.2.2, the company can offer compensation to the customer. A manager can follow up with a personal call to the customer and apologize on behalf. This answers what action can the company take, and the actions are threefold here, but only one was required. The company can offer a form of compensation to the customer. Number two, a manager can follow up with a personal call to customer and apologize on behalf of the company. The company can ask the customer to suggest ways on how to win back their loyalty. So this answers the second practiced set of questions. And as we move forward to the next set of practice question, it says, study the graph below and answer the questions that follow. So at 24% on top of the graph, bill received without long waiting period. At 82%, value for money meal. So the meal was rated as good to be at 82%. The food was delicious at 85%, and at 90%, the food presentation was attractive at 85%, which is here, acceptable waiting time for food to arrive, so they did not spend a long time for the menu to be placed on their table. Menu offer a variety of dishes, is not bad, it's at 75. Waiter knew the content of the menu well, so the knowledge of the menu was a problem. It was rated 22%. It's like the bill waiting period, so they had to wait for a long period of time for the bill to be given to them, and it was rated 24%. Staff was friendly and professional. It was rated 38%, still poor rating. Restaurant was clean and well maintained, also at 30%, which is of course a poor rating. And warm, welcoming on arrival, which is also a problem. It is rated 25%. Now let's go through the question. Question 10.1, give one reason why the owner of the Bluefish restaurant felt the need to conduct the survey above. Question 10.2, the owner of the Bluefish restaurant introduced a cash incentive to his staff as a token of appreciation for good work. Refer to the survey results and identify the staff members who should receive cash incentive. Let us look at how this question was answered. Oh, it goes on to the third question, which reads, give 2 reasons for your answer to question 10.2, the one of incentives. 10.4, it says, recommend one strategy that can be included in the owner's action plan that will result in the increase of visitor numbers and profitability for their restaurant. Here are the answers. For 10.1, it says the survey will help identify where and how he can improve his business and increase visitors' number. That is why he has conducted this survey, because it will help him identify where and how to improve service and increase visitor number. Also, to get a benchmark for incentive for staff so that he can reward the staff for their job well done. So he needs to give accolades to those who are taking their work very serious. And lastly, to get a sense of how customer regard his business. You want to know how the take of customer is to his business. That is the reason why he has conducted this kind of survey. And just 1 point for 2 months. So if he were to reward his staff, so he had to give credit or incentive to the chef team. Remember, the ratings were the highest we had 85%, and it was this category, that the food was delicious, the food was tasty, so that was rated very high at 85%. 10.3, the rating for the chef, that's when they say give reason why you think the chef should be compensated or should be given incentive for their job well done. So the ratings in answering 10.3, giving the reason, the rating for the chef and the team were the highest. So they were rated the best. In so doing, they deserve the incentive from the business owner. That is allocated 2 marks. Another fact would be the conduct and communication involving frontline staff received low rating from their customers. So their conduct and behavior made them to miss the incentive because they were rated at the region of 24, the other one at 30. So they do not, or they did not receive the incentive, or they are not entitled to the incentive because of poor performance rating. So if you perform poorly, you don't get bonuses. But if you work the hardest, then companies or employers normally will give you incentive or some kind of motivation to keep up the good work. As we further assess the reason why the chef and the team received the incentive was that the cleanliness and maintenance of the restaurant received low ratings. So the restaurant, the cleaners were not doing their work appropriately. So is the maintenance staff. A lot of things were not taken care of. So this made the chefs and the team to come out best. The waiters do not take their work seriously because they were not attentive. They did not attend to the customers on time. And also, they did not give them the bill timeously. Grade learners, these are some typical questions and answers that you must expect from this topic, customer care and communication. I just want to quickly, before we end the session, to reflect on the important aspects of the lesson, which we said we have explained what customer feedback is. We have looked into the value of customer feedbacks and steps involved in analyzing customer feedback. We have indicated different methods that can be used to collect information as feedback from the clients, where we have mentioned a survey, a questionnaire, SMSs. We've mentioned the web-based response. We've also mentioned a follow-up call. Those are some of the methods that are very critical when you look into the topic of customer care and communication, and ways in which to resolve issues. That is an action plan that needs to be taken when things are not going right. 10.4, these are some of the steps that can be taken. So the manager need to retain and upskill all frontline staff. That is your waiters, your cleaners. Those are the frontliners that they should keep a smile. They should welcome guests to the restaurant in a manner that is acceptable. Managers to effectively manage and control staff. That's one action that you must take. You need to be efficient and effective in his control of the staff. Make the incentive package attractive to the staff, and make a supervisor responsible to control the cleanliness and the maintenance of the restaurant. He must do everything in his power to create a memorable experience for the guest. So this answers question 10.4, and we've come to the end of this lesson, and on the 7th of August, our next lesson will be on forms of payment when traveling internationally. And it will be broadcast live on this platform from 14:30 to 1600 hours. And with that, I would like to thank you for being such a nice audience, and I hope with the information that you have collected from our engagement, you'll be able to do your best in the upcoming assessment task, the data handling, the PET, as well as the prelim examination and the final exam. I thank you. Still we meet next week, that is the 7th of August. Thank you.